We have new episodes dropping every other week. You can find them early on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Music, or wherever you find your podcasts, or find the link below for our Megaphone landing page, and we will see you around the campfire.
Hey, I'm Jess,
And I'm Paul.
and welcome to Campfire Ashes. Now gather round, pull up a log, and let me tell you a campfire story. Dylan hesitantly hung his stocking on the fireplace next to his sister's. He'd been dreading this night for weeks, fearing the worst ever since he got that suspension for fighting in school. He didn't start it, he'd pleaded with the principal. He was just defending himself against his bully. But Dylan knew deep down that didn't matter. There was a part of him that was waiting for that bully to swing on him just so he had the opportunity to hit back. "You okay, Dill?" his twin sister Daisy asked. "Your hand is shaking." "Yeah, I'm fine," he said, trying his best to sound sincere. Daisy has spent her entire life up to this point taking care of him, worrying about him, feeling responsible for him. She doesn't need to worry about him tonight. She should be proud of herself and excited for tomorrow morning's surprise. "So what do you think you'll get from St. Nicholas?" Daisy asked. "I hope I get that book I've been asking for." "Probably just some oranges," Dylan said. "I'd be happy with anything." "Well, we'd better get to bed," Daisy said, excitement ringing in her tone. "He knows if you're awake, and then we won't get anything." Dylan nodded and attempted to smile. He wished Daisy was right about not getting anything. Just that. But if the story his friend Marcus told him is true, he was in trouble tonight. The good children get candy or toys from St. Nicholas, but the bad ones... He shook the thought from his head and followed his sister to their shared bedroom. The longer Dylan tried closing his eyes and counting backwards from 100 to try falling asleep, closer and closer it got till morning. He opened his eyes and looked over to Daisy, who was sleeping soundly in her bed. He sighed, rolled over, and closed his eyes again. 100, 99, 98... Dylan awoke to the rush of air to his face, hot and putrid in his nose. Disgusted, he rubbed his eyes to see a giant devilish face directly above his, snarling at him. He couldn't even make a sound before the creature thrust a burlap sack over him and snatched him up out of the bed. Dylan struggled with all his might to break free, but to no avail. He heard Daisy's terrified screams in the darkness of the sack. "Leave my sister alone!" Try as he may, Dylan couldn't free himself from his tiny prison. Suddenly, he felt the sinking feeling in his stomach that happens when you go up a hill and drop quickly on a roller coaster, like he'd been lifted out of bed and slung over a shoulder. He heard hooves thudding against the hardwood floor of the hallway outside his room and felt the bounce of each step. "Where are you taking Dylan?" he heard Daisy ask through sniffles. "Bring my brother back here." "Daisy, don't," he called out to her. "I don't want you to get hurt." Just as he'd finished his sentence, he heard the old window pane creak open and felt the wave of cold air rush in. "Let him go!" The burlap sack split open, giving way for light to break in and Dylan to see Daisy with their mother's sewing scissors in her hand. "Dylan!" Daisy grabbed his arm and pulled him into her, causing them to tumble onto the floor, scissors cast out onto the side of them. "Are you okay?" "How did you know to get scissors?" Dylan asked, utterly confused by the whole situation. "What's going on?" "No time to explain. We need to get to the playroom," Daisy said, pulling herself up off the floor and extending her hand to him. "Now!" Dylan took her hand and the two of them raced down the stairs, hooves clamoring behind them, their echo growing ever closer. Looks like Marcus was right about him. But what Dylan couldn't understand was why Daisy was taking him to the playroom when a half-deviled, hooved nightmare was chasing after them. After they cleared the landing and turned the corner to the playroom, Daisy was tearing through the toy chest. "Daisy, what are you doing?" "Where is your hammer, Dill?" Daisy yelled. "We need your Thor hammer." "Daisy, are you crazy? Trust me, Dylan. Where is it?" "Think, Dylan, think. Where did you put that hammer?" Daisy was in the toy chest now, everything scattered across the floor. Dylan saw Thor's helmet and cape, but not the hammer. The rapping of the creature's hooves grew louder and louder as it approached them, and Dylan was only growing more confused. "Quick, hide!" Dylan dashed into the closet and pulled the double doors closed as Daisy shut the lid of the toy chest with her still in it. Heart pounding out of his chest, Dylan slinked deeper into the back of the closet, hiding behind Daisy's princess dresses. Thankfully, Daisy always put her toys back when she was done with them, something Dylan was regretting not doing at this moment. The creature let out an inhuman growl, and through the slats in the doors, Dylan saw it rip the lid off the toy box and grab his sister, who was screaming her lungs out. Back against the wall, he slid slowly down it, hands over his ears and eyes shut, trying to find the courage to run out and save her the way she did for him. Before his butt made contact with the ground, it hit the uneven surface of a familiar plastic toy. Thor's hammer. Dylan grabbed the hammer and burst open the closet doors. "Put my sister down, you beast!" "Dylan, you found it!" Daisy yelled, relief washing over her voice. The devilish creature dropped Daisy and covered its face defensively at the sight of the child wielding a plastic hammer. It let out an ear-piercing screech and ran through the front door, out into the winter night. "You did it, Dylan," Daisy said, running over to her brother and embracing him in a hug. "You saved us." Dylan hugged her back until she pulled away and hit his arm. "Ow! What was that for?" "What on earth did you do to bring Krampus here?" Daisy scolded. "He only comes to punish naughty children." "Wait," Dylan said, bewildered. "How do you know about Krampus?" "Duh, from school." "Do you not pay attention? Or did you miss that lesson when you were suspended?" "I don't know," Dylan said, scratching the back of his head. "I must have missed it." So Marcus wasn't just making up that story to scare me. "Hold on," Dylan said, looking at Daisy. "Why did we need Thor's hammer? It's plastic." "Because Krampus is afraid of Thor, dummy." Daisy laughed and shook her head at him, a reaction Dylan often got from her. None of this made sense, but after everything they'd just been through, he wasn't about to question it. Dylan yawned. "Let's get some sleep." "Okay," Daisy said, yawning in agreement. "Oh, and Daisy," Dylan said, gaining her attention. "The hammer's name is Mjolnir."
It's always so hard for me to tell to say his hammer's name.
I know,
Mjolnir.
I probably butchered it, so sorry, everybody.
No, you didn't. You got it right, actually.
Thank God. I rehearsed it.
Yeah, it's not an easy one.
It's like, oh my God. I purposely just say Thor's hammer because I don't want to screw it up, but I'm like, no, I gotta be accurate today.
No,
So
you got
I
it.
rehearsed it.
So we're
as
dealing
I
with
said in the
Krampus.
story- Yes, Krampus. This is Krampus. Do you really
Okay.
think I'm gonna get to our, like holidays special stories and not do Krampus?
Well, so here's the thing. I know what Krampus looks like. I know the general idea, but like I don't really know a lot of lore. So
Yeah, so
I'm kind of excited about this one.
cool. So there's different lore depending on your like the background of the origins. So like he's Austrian, German, mostly is like what we know of him, but there's more like European places that have their own.
Mm-hmm.
And there's regional variation based on what background you're going with.
Well, yeah, there always is.
Yeah. So it's mostly like Austrian, German, Bavarian, but he has variations in Croatia, the Czech Republic, Hungary, Northern Italy, Slovakia, Slovenia.
So terrorizing all of Europe.
Yes, pretty much. And then even I don't know that it's necessarily originated with Pennsylvania Dutch, but I know Pennsylvania Dutch sometimes refer to Krampus as Belsnickel,
Mm-hmm.
which is technically different, but when it came to America, it kind of got morphed into the same thing that we know as Krampus.
Okay.
So like the typical that you've probably heard of Krampus story origin is that Krampus is like Saint Nicholas or Santa's buddy, and like they both go around, and Saint Nicholas rewards good children, and Krampus punishes the naughty ones.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few variations of what Krampus might do, like depending on, I guess, just like what Krampus is feeling that day, or like how severely naughty this kid was, like how like misbehaved they were. He either like hits you with a branch or a stick or something, just like beats you with it. Usually like just your legs below the knee for whatever reason.
Okay.
But then there are other variations where like he snatches you up in the sack and he drags you down to hell with him, and you have to like plead for your soul. And then there are even variations where he takes you and he eats you. Because why not?
Well, yeah. So so
Yeah.
we just did a reaction to a uh, a German metal band doing a song about Krampus, and
Hell
that
yeah.
and that one Krampus does he takes you down to his dungeon, but it's not. It's a different thing that he does
Yeah, wait,
with people
wait,
in the
wait,
dungeon.
wait, what band?
It's called For Your Schwanz.
Okay.
It's a band that literally uh, it's a play on name on words in German.
Uh-huh.
Basically means like flame dick.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So you kind of expect you get what you expect on that one.
Yeah, that definitely paints a picture.
Yeah. So we literally just a reaction to their song about Krampus, and like there was a dungeon, but it was not a sad dungeon. It was more of a sex dungeon. It was weird.
And quick sidebar to plug the React channel,
Yeah,
Paul.
Paul and Tim do a thing. It's just
On YouTube. Check him
random
out.
reactions. But yeah, so like he looked like Krampus, like the he didn't he very much like the
Devil,
he
half goat man type thing you've
yeah
been wearing. Yeah.
yeah very much looked like it. So it was really cool. It just like it was also like kind of Bram Stoker's vampire or Dracula, where like he had like a harem of a bunch of like half naked women, and it was like that's I
Right.
don't think this is part of the lore.
Yeah, Krampus also has brides, apparently. So, the interesting thing about Krampus that I didn't even realize until I started researching for this story was that the origins and history of Krampus can stretch back or theorized to stretch back as far as pre-Christian Alpine traditions, so like pagan traditions, that then became synonymous with Christian traditions, hence why it was like St. Nicholas and Krampus were roaming around together. Which it's kind of unclear how it assimilated like that. And, Krampus kind of became a symbol for like the Christian devil,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of like Christian history is basically like, hey, we didn't want this to happen and it just kind of did.
Okay.
So for example, in modern history, modern I say, but like within the last century or so, in the aftermath, I'm taking this directly from the Wikipedia page, which we'll have linked in the show notes. In the aftermath of the 1932 election in Austria, the Krampus tradition was prohibited under the clerical fascist Fatherland's Front and the Christian Social Party. And then in the 50s, the Austrian government distributed pamphlets titled Krampus is an Evil Man. And then towards the end of the century is when like this popular resurgence of Krampus celebrations happened to bring forth like what we know today in America as, like this version of Krampus that we know. And it brought a resurgence in hold on, I don't want to butcher the pronunciation of this. Krampusnacht, I believe is how it's pronounced.
Okay.
So what this is, I don't know if you're familiar, but the feast of Saint Nicholas, or like Saint Nicholas Day, in parts of Europe, it's celebrated on December 6th. So
Okay.
the preceding day, the evening, so December 5th. So ironically, like tonight, as of this recording,
Well,
ironic that this can happen
that's some
tonight.
timing.
Yes, is Krampus night. So it's kind of like, Christmas Eve, Santa comes to bring you presents, or coal if you've been bad, like that version that we know. Well, on December 5th, Krampus night or Krampusnacht is when Krampus will show up on the streets, and he'll like visit your homes and your businesses, and if you've been bad, he's gonna beat you with a stick. So like, everybody look out tonight if you've been bad. Apparently, just like in Europe, but I'm gonna say everybody.
He's gonna
Even
kneecap
though
you.
even though by the time you hear this, it'll be past that, so you'll have to let us know if he hit you.
Yeah, you can let us know this week because I mean this episode's going up Friday, so yeah. So
Exactly.
yeah, let us know if you got kneecapped.
By Krampus.
Yeah, but yeah, it's always interesting, like looking at this kind of stuff because, like, he like Krampus wasn't really a thing growing up. Like, it just wasn't.
Yeah, it was like the late 90s, early 2000s that
Yeah,
the resurgence happened, where they started doing this like Krampus run, which will be happening tonight in like parts of Europe, where people dress up, usually men, but anybody dresses up as Krampus, and they like run through the streets and they like, you know, pretend to be Krampus and like terrorize people. It's like a whole festival, and you know, like they do it for fun, but it sounds scary.
so like a Santa run, but like
Yeah, but it's
horror.
Krampus, and like they'll chase after you, and like, you know, if
That
you know they catch
that
you,
doesn't
like
sound fun.
I know, but like to me it sounds fun because I like stuff like that. That's weird.
That no, I don't want to be
People can
chased.
people cosplay as Krampus
Yeah, but they're
and
also not
terrorize
hit.
you.
Yeah, but like no.
I don't know. Europe's wild.
Yeah, yeah, it's weird.
So another pagan tradition that also became like intertwined with Catholicism is the origin of Percht. It's Percht. So sorry.
Perched. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry if it's wrong. Which is a two-legged humanoid goat with a giraffe-like neck.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of like similar to Krampus, but like supposedly this person was portrayed as female and like a witch,
Mm-hmm.
and then you know there's Krampus who's male and like portrayed like the devil, and then eventually like it just kind of got like they became the same thing.
Uh-huh.
And like nobody really knows when this happened. It just happened. But also fun little sidebar. Um for whatever reason, it's customary to offer Krampus schnapps.
I mean, look, if you're gonna be like kneecapped, I mean, at least
But
drink
like
it
it
off.
doesn't say that it stops him from kneecapping you. So like you might be like, hey man, don't hit me, here's some schnapps, and he's like, thanks bro, takes a swig and then busts your kneecaps anyway.
I mean, look,
Krampus
but it
doesn't
helped.
play by the rules. He's a half devil, half goat. Like he can do what he wants.
But I mean, it helps though. It definitely helps. Like it helps the alcohol. The alcohol helps the hurting from your kneecaps.
Yeah, but Krampus is gonna be the one drinking it, so it's like he's just getting drunk, having a good time, beating the shit out of people.
Yeah, but you toast it too, so that way your senses are dulled. Like you're
That's
not.
fair. Okay, it
Yeah.
doesn't say you have to give him a full unopened bottle.
Exactly. Like, you get half, you get half, and then I brace for impact.
But so interestingly enough, Krampus kind of became like more than just like a story passed down by word of mouth in like the early 19th century, because people started putting Krampus on like Christmas greeting cards, which like I think Christmas cards are supposed to be like, oh, season's greetings, like it's a wonderful time of year, it's so happy. And for whatever reason, in like 1899, somebody was just like, you know, it'd be really funny. Let's put Krampus on there as like a warning. Like,
Yeah, it's
hey,
like,
greetings from Krampus. Don't be an asshole. And then in
hey, hey, Patty,
2004,
here's a card. I know what you did last summer.
oh my god. But then in 2004, an artist by the name of Monty Beauchamp, probably also butchered that, sorry Monty, made a book that's just a collection of these cards depicting Krampus from like the 1890s, early 1900s.
Okay.
and that's when it became more popular internationally. So
Okay.
really, like growing up for you, yeah, Krampus wouldn't have been a thing until you were like in like my age.
Mm-hmm. And then suddenly became a thing. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's always been a thing, but suddenly became more popular just again.
Yeah, I mean, it was like the chupacabra, like throwing it back to that episode.
Mm.
To me, growing up, it was always around. To
Yeah.
you, it didn't hit till you were a teenager.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it just wasn't a thing, and then it became like this just mass hysteria, where it was just like
Yeah.
it was always around. It was just like, yeah, no, this wasn't here like last year. like, like,
Like, oh, this just happened. Okay.
and it was always weird because like it's very different when something happens before the internet, because if it happens before the internet, there's so much more ingrained in your head because like it's been beaten into your head over and over again, whereas like something that happens on the internet, sometimes it can be a little bit less permanent because of how
It's
quickly
something like
it will,
trending.
yeah, like how quickly
Yeah.
it becomes a thing and then how quickly it goes away.
Yeah.
So like once I feel like once if something's been around for like pre-internet, it's way more ingrained in the culture and everything. That's why like Chupacabra is not really like a huge, like we don't talk about it now. Like
Right.
it's not, it's like there's not Chupacabra sightings. We don't talk about like that kind of stuff. Whereas like
I mean, if
we
you
talk
ask the
about,
National Enquirer, they still talk about it.
yeah, but like we talk about Bigfoot. We talk about
Mothman.
Mothman. We talk about the Jersey Devil. We talk about these things that have been around for centuries and have been ingrained in like our culture. Whereas something like Chupacabra or Not Deer or something like that are relatively new, just haven't had a chance to kind of like get their hooks into our culture.
Right.
So it's kind of
So
neat. It's kind of neat that how these things kind of go in cycles. Whereas like this thing has been around for a long time, and then
yeah, I mean, it like
slowly
predates
it come back.
Christianity,
Yeah.
and now all of a sudden it's like this big, huge, popular thing associated with Christianity, even though it existed before that and is really of pagan origin.
Mm.
But another regional variation. So in Syria, so like Krampus presents to entire families, right? And you're offered a twig, right? To display around your house year round as a reminder to your kids not to be assholes.
It's like Elf on a Shelf, but a twig.
Yes, it's like Elf on a Shelf, but like with more menacing connotations than just, oh, you'll get coal. It's like, oh, you'll get your ass beat. So if you got, like, if your kids were really well behaved, you still got that, the root, as they called it, but like RUTE.
Mm-hmm.
And if it was a golden root, it was like, hey, look at that. Your kid's a star student, A plus, super great kid. Like, you're safe this year.
Mm-hmm.
But if they were bad, it was a silver root, and it was like, oh, you know what? You just missed it, and this is what I'm gonna beat you with, and then display in your house.
The root becomes a switch, and then it's like, so you see this thing that you could have gotten? Nope. Now it's the instrument of your doom.
Exactly. So, haha.
That's so weird.
But then in
So
Croatia, well, many parts of Croatia, I shouldn't say like the entirety of Croatia, Krampus is described as a devil wearing a cloth sack around his waist and chains around his neck, ankles, and wrists. And then as part of his tradition, you know, like St. Nicholas will present kids with gifts. Like, hey, you know, you did good deeds, here's your gifts.
mm,
But if you did bad deeds, Krampus would show up and like St. Nicholas would give you the gift and then Krampus would be like, just kidding, this is mine, and then beat you. So Krampus would come and take it from you.
that's so messed up. He was just like, Santa, yeah, no, I double checked that list. You didn't get this.
Exactly. In Croatia, it's like a fake out. So like Santa will show up, but you don't know if you're safe or not, and you're like you might just get that ripped out of your hands and get beaten.
That's so mean.
I mean, they
That's so
really
very
want
mean.
kids to be well behaved. I
Yeah.
think is what they're trying to say.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
that just makes it worse. That just makes it so much worse. Like you're not even safe if Santa shows up. Well,
Mhm.
Saint Nicholas, but you know.
Yeah. It's like, "Oh man, I got this." And Krampus comes up behind him. I was like, "Just kidding. Here's a
So then,
switch."
yeah, exactly. So the whole reason of Thor being brought into this, you're probably wondering like, what does that have to do with anything?
Yeah, I was curious.
It like the the plastic whimsical toy part of it was just for the story, but the reason that Mjolnir is brought up in this is because there's a certain variation of the lore where uh, Krampus, being half man but like devil, half goat, along with two other actual goats, pulled Thor's chariot, like his you know his sled like a chariot, and he already got the shit end of the stick because he's only half goat, so he was always slacking compared to the other two goats, who are of course judging him because fuck you. Um, but Thor, being a magical being, if he was hungry out on his, conquering everything, being the hero, trekking, being a Norse god and everything, if he was hungry, he would just eat the goats and then reanimate them, including Krampus.
What the?
So
That's
Krampus is fucking terrified of Thor.
okay.
So like a way to keep Krampus away is to like keep Thor statues around or like have the hammer. So like that was my interpretation of like, oh,
Hmm.
kids would be, because like Marvel's such a huge thing right now, and like Thor is really popular. You can get merchandise anywhere. Like a kid would think, okay, I'm scared of Krampus. Like I'm gonna keep this. I'm gonna ask for Thor's hammer
Hmm.
so that I could protect myself.
You heard it here first. The MCU is keeping Krampus at bay, guys.
Well, Universal Pictures did make a Krampus movie in 2015 that was a Christmas comedy horror. So
Okay, so I never saw that one, but like I did. It was a comedy horror.
yeah, it's a comedy horror. I actually haven't seen it either. I'm slacking. But yeah, it's labeled on Wikipedia as a Christmas comedy horror from Universal Pictures.
Interesting. Because like I've seen
So
like I remember the like
the posters are
advertise. Yeah,
scary,
the poster.
yeah.
Yeah, like it didn't look. I didn't see comedy unless it's like so bad it's comedy.
Like I mean, it could just be like a dark comedy,
It could
like
be bad.
Violent Night. But Violent Night looks funny.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, there was nothing about this picture that looked like
yeah, I don't know.
fun.
Maybe we'll have to put that in our movie night watch list and figure it
We
out.
we could.
We should.
Should we?
I don't know.
Should
Let's see if
we?
there's any. Let's see if there's any interest.
I don't know. I just finished like the last movie night we had in Discord. Watched Smile, and oh my god, that was
I haven't
just
watched it. I haven't watched it. I'm too scared.
that movie messed me up.
Yeah, I'm too scared,
It
honestly.
it's so well done. Oh my god, it's so well done.
That's what I'm afraid of. And like, did you see the advertisements for it?
Yeah, I
Where
loved.
they would pay people to go to like baseball games or like public events and just sit in the background and smile really creepy, and they wore shorts that said smile on it to advertise the movie.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm not about it. I'm not about it. I'm
Yeah,
too scared. I still haven't watched
yeah.
it. And
Well,
then,
yeah, we just watched it Saturday. It
well,
was
on
not.
Thanksgiving, Tom's sister was telling me about it, and she's only 17. Not that like that's young, but like she's younger than me. And she's like, "Oh, did you watch it? Like it was really scary. I think you'd like it." And I'm just like, "How did you like? I'd be pissing myself. Like, how did you watch that? I'm too scared."
Dude, there were some really good jump scares, like really
Ugh.
quality jump scares. But the rest of it is just basically like it was beautifully shot. The way the camera angles, everything was off kilter. So like it
Oh,
very much made you feel like off
no thanks.
center, and yeah, it was extremely well done.
I heard
Um,
that it was like so like what you said, like the camera angles and like the way it was filmed was so unnerving, and like they put so much thought and effort into consideration into that that it kind of felt like they dropped the budget on writing and they dropped the plot at the end. Like it just kind of wasn't great, is what I've heard about it.
a little bit,
Yeah.
yeah. It was a little bit of a clunky third act, and it
But
was.
I expect that with a lot of like quote unquote indie horror films. Like I expect that. Even like
But
not indie horror films, I kind of feel like the third act isn't always that strong.
I don't think it was bad. I don't think it
Well,
was
that's
bad
good.
in in
I'm still
any
gonna watch it. I'm
like
just scared.
yeah, the CGI is like eh. Like it the like
Eh,
the little bit of CGI that there is, because it's
whatever.
not it. Everything else is pretty practical as far as the effects go. Like there's not
Jeez.
really a ton of craziness, but like yeah, the CGI here and there, it's not like it's not bad. It's just it
Could have
feels a
been
little
better.
out of place. It feels a little out of place with
Okay.
all the practical effects that kind of went on. But I thought the movie was great. I had no issue with it. I thought
That's good.
so. I think here's the thing. I think the embodiment of what the thing is to me wasn't as scary as all the lead up to it.
Oh, man.
But I mean, the ending still was terrifying.
That's still
The
like a little disappointing, don't you think?
Yeah, a little bit. Like it just
I still
it
feel like
it felt a little out of place. But again, like the actual ending was horrifying. Like
so
there
still
was
worth it,
yeah, there was a stumble, but
just slightly
it
disappointing.
it really like the ending was horrific. The ending like brought everything home, and it felt just as bad as like the rest of the movie. It's just that
Jeez.
like you had that like 10 minutes of like this, like I get what's wrong, but it's not quite what I want,
Oh, jeez.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Oh, well.
If we ever have the time to do a second podcast, I would love to like explore movies like this, like where it was just like, yes, this amazing thing, this amazing premise with this not great execution. But it was good. I would watch it again.
There's definitely a niche for that.
Mm.
But good to know, because I do plan on watching it. I'm just really scared.
You have
The
a reason to be scared. Yeah,
yeah, the
it's.
concept is unnerving.
Mm.
But back to Krampus.
Yes.
Um, this has almost nothing to do with anything except the fact that it's another name for Krampus, but I just find it really funny. In German-speaking Switzerland, they don't call him Krampus, they call him Schmutzli. That just makes him sound less scary.
It really does. Because you hear the word schmutz, and it's just like that's just like stuff that you stepped in.
Exactly.
It's so weird.
But other popular culture appearances of Krampus include there's a 2012 novel by Gerald Brom titled Krampus the Yule Lord.
Mm-hmm.
There's a comic series from Image Comics in 2013 titled Krampus.
I saw that. I think that's actually in the comic book store.
Cool, cool. Shout out Tim in the comic book store. There's a live action television episode called A Krampus Carol. It's a 2012 episode of The League. And then
Okay.
yeah, I don't know.
I love the League in
I never
that
watched it.
I didn't I don't know if you would get it as much. You have to really like fantasy football
Yeah, no, I don't
to
give a
get
shit.
to
Sorry.
get yeah, so like that's what the League is. It is like
Sorry.
pretend this group of people take fantasy football to the most absurd degree that you could ever do it, and that's what the League is.
Yeah, no, I have no interest in that. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's so good. But yeah, I don't remember the Krampus
Yeah,
episode.
it's called A Krampus Carol, and it was in 2012. So if you want to rewatch it, that's what it is.
Yeah, I'll have to
And
check it
then
out.
And then in animated television appearances, there's a 2004 episode of the Venture Brothers called A Very Venture Christmas that he was in. And then in that I've seen, there's an episode of American Dad that came out in 2013. It's their Christmas episode. It's called Minstrel Krampus, and it's funny. But he's also made appearances.
I must spit everything,
Oh
everything
God,
out everywhere.
no! Don't do that.
A menstrual Krampus.
Minstrel. Oh my God.
Menstrual.
Did I? I'm
Menstrual
sure.
Krampus. I thought you said menstrual Krampus. I was like,
I
oh
mean,
my
he's
god.
probably causing a lot of blood from the busted kneecaps, but that's not the same kind of blood.
I didn't need that visualization.
You're welcome. But anyway, he has also made appearances in video games. There's a little 1998 arcade game you may have heard of called Carnival. He's in that.
I haven't.
Yeah, I haven't either, but I thought you might have. But anyway, there's another game that you've probably heard of that came out in 2014 called The Binding of Isaac: Rebirth.
I've heard of it, but I've never played it.
Yeah, I haven't played that either. Sorry, Rich, if you're listening. I'm sure you are. I'm sorry. I know you love that game. But he's in that. And then apparently he's in Call of Duty Warzone because I was looking. Yeah, no, dead ass. I was on Google and I was like, how do you defeat Krampus? Because I was looking if there are ways that you can defend yourself. And all that I was getting was, here's how you defeat Krampus in Call of Duty Warzone.
With
And
the DMR.
I was like, what? It's like, what? What is going on? So, yeah, apparently most recently he's been in Call of Duty Warzone, so like check that out if you're into that.
You're gonna get that P90 and then call in the UAV. Call in a UAV so that you can get more accurate missile strike. Like, why?
If you're having difficulty defeating him, all you gotta do is Google it. It's there, baby. But so what I really meant when I was Googling how to defeat Krampus or protect yourself from Krampus, I discovered that he's afraid of Thor. So, like...
Well, obviously, because Thor's going to eat him.
Right. So, like, have Thor statues or, like, action figures or, like, Thor memorabilia in your possession. Or just, like, behave so he doesn't show up. But, if you're, like, maybe I did something bad this year, I can't remember, it's been an entire year, that's a really long time. Have Thor stuff. If you're worried about your kids getting beat by Krampus, have Thor stuff. And then also you can offer him the schnapps, which like might just put him in a better mood, so he won't. And then if you can't necessarily defeat him, if you have scissors, like carry scissors on you or like something sharp so you can cut your way out of the burlap sack.
Okay.
That's basically what I got. Other than like twisted Krampus bread, which kind of just looks like pretzels, but it's like it's just bread. Like you make bread in the shape of a pretzel. That also kind of resembles Krampus, and he supposedly is like, "Oh my god, I'm so flattered that you made my likeness out of bread. I'm gonna take this bread, thanks," and doesn't hit you. So like, feed him, give him some schnapps, schmooze him a little bit. If that doesn't work, yeah, like if that doesn't work, mention Thor, and he should leave you alone. Or just, like I said, don't be an asshole. Just be good. Be a good person. I think that's really the lesson that we should all learn from this. Is be a good person, or Krampus is going to bust your kneecaps.
I mean, yeah, that's helpful. Or he's going to take your gift that Santa gave you.
If you're in Croatia, apparently.
It just feels wrong.
I know. It's like Santa's going to show up. You're going to think, oh my god, I did so good. I did good this year. Santa's here. He brought me my little gifts, my little trinkets. He put them in my stocking. And then in the middle of the night, supposedly what happens is in the middle of the night, so like you're supposed to be asleep when this happens.
Mm-hmm.
You either wake up in the morning to gifts from Santa, or you wake up in the middle of the night to Krampus breaking your kneecaps or trying to steal you or eat you. So like you really don't know till it's happening.
Yeah, so you're
He
just
said
like,
surprise, motherfucker, and just
was I
shows
good?
up. Just shows up. Krampus does what Krampus wants. Which, like, also, so Krampus is derived from the German word Krampen, which means claw. But there's nothing that explains that, really. Like, I guess because he's, like, a half-devilish figure, he has, like, claw-like hands or something, but that's it. That's the only thing I got as far as why he's called Krampus.
Weird.
In German lore, anyway. Like I said, there's plenty of other, our little schmutzli.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, also, according to legend, I don't know what legend, but a legend. It's not very specified, but again, this will be linked in the show notes. He's the son of Hel, the Norse god of the underworld.
Okay.
And so,
Well, more of a
because
reason to not like be not
because
like by Thor.
well, yeah, exactly, because he's the son of the god of the underworld, and Thor's, Odin's son. Thor's just like, you're gonna pull my chariot, and I'm also gonna eat you and reanimate you from time to time. Fuck with it. And I think that is everything that I have to share with you that you may or may not have already known. But again,
A lot of this I
in the
didn't.
show notes. Yeah, there are things that I didn't know either. But yeah, so we'll be linking all of this in the show notes so you guys can read up on it.
And then we get one more Christmas story.
And it's a Paul story. And he knew that I was going to be doing Krampus because I claimed it. But
Yeah,
I have
yeah,
no
this is
idea
definitely one of the
what
ones.
Paul's doing.
This is definitely one of the ones I was just like, yeah, I know she wants this one. I'm going to let her have it.
Well, so I was debating on if I was going to do it this year or maybe next Christmas, because there are actually 2 other, like, winter solstice, like, pagan tradition, like, scary-ish things, folklore that I could have done that I'm like, oh, this is really cool, and I forgot about it when I was looking up stuff about Krampus. And then I was like, no, I already told you I was going to do it, and I have a good idea for it, so I'm just going to do it. But I'll put those other ones on the back burner for later. Unless you ended up doing one of them, that'll be hilarious.
Probably, maybe, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see in 2 weeks.
And remember, last one out douses the fire. If you heard something, no, you didn't. And if you're here with us next time, that means you made it to morning.